So what have we swallowed up so fast? First, it was energy you told me the other night. You think?
I mean, I think that right now, Bitcoin mining represents a fundamentally transformative revenue stream for energy markets that has never been available before. So it's a full-blown 0 to 1 innovation in power markets. So, if you were running power markets over the last, 30, 40 years, you've spent all of your time focused on cost management. Nobody has spent time thinking about the revenue side of their business or innovating on the revenue side. You've introduced some peak and off-peak concepts into some of these markets, and the goal of that was to get households to run their dryers at night, not during the day. That was the extent of the innovation there, was to try to, slowly nudge people's behavior to get them to do their appliance usage overnight. What that didn't account for was the ability to have, fully dispatchable multi-hundred megawatt loads being able to come on and off of an energy system in maybe not quite real-time response, but pretty fucking close. So there's this huge, huge change in what does it mean to be a large-scale energy customer, and what does that mean for the markets that those customers are participating in. So, imagine waking up and figuring out that there's another 20 or 30% revenue in your energy system without having to invest another dollar of CapEx. Groundbreaking change. And we haven't seen that get fully priced across the spectrum yet. So number one is that Bitcoin is going to buy more energy over the coming decades, and that's going to be an incredible benefit for individuals and for the climate and the environment and all of these things. Bitcoin mining is an enormous positive sum sector of the economy.
Tell me, do you walk into energy companies who kind of have no real or limited understanding of Bitcoin, sit in front of them, give them a presentation of this subject, and watch their brains kind of explode? Have you had those reactions?
Over the last 3-4 years, absolutely. So there's one interaction that was great. Was we went in and we walked them through how we want to be a customer, right? I walk into an energy company. The first thing I tell them is I want to be the best customer you've ever had. I don't want to introduce any strain to the system. I want to buy your least valuable hours. I want to do it really cheaply, but I'm willing to work with you along every other vector other than price. That's it.
And you can turn me on and off.
You tell me on, off, up, down, half full, whatever. That's all priceable.
I mean, that is the best customer they could possibly ask for.
Yes, exactly.
I'm trying to think of an analogy for any other industry where you would have such an amazing customer.
We try to make it really easy. Oh, and we don't need all these other things, all these other, redundancy. Imagine Facebook showing up and saying, we want to build a 100 megawatt data center. That really means 300 megawatts of infrastructure because they want full uptime and they want to do it with solar and they want to do all these other, and it just becomes this total, and they want to never pay taxes for the next 15 years because they need to be incentivized because 10 other places are competing for them. Whereas we want to go to a community that does not have a customer like us. We want to be the biggest buyer of energy in your market because nobody else has chosen to go there. Because what we don't need to do? We don't need to be 15 feet from the interstate and be on a major shipping hub. We don't need a massive amount of land. We're able to do this on a much smaller footprint than most other businesses. We're able to we solve all of these traditional hard to manage concepts. We don't introduce strain. We're not a pain in the ass. We're pretty helpful. We're pretty useful. And we just want to be a benefit to your environment. This is the point, is that we care so much about price that we're willing to work with you on every single other factor.
And is it just sign? Can you sign up now, please?
It's a little more complicated than that. So
do they feel like they're being tricked or something?
Yes. So that's exactly right. So we show up and we walk them through kind of what our power purchase model looks like and how we want to interact with you. And they're like, but can you actually do it? Does this actually work? Yeah, we can show you operating data. And this isn't like a hypothetical thing. This is what is already happening at large scale today. We just want to grow this massively. And we being our entire industry. And so, this is an incredibly exciting time when I think we're seeing some of the large energy, project developers starting to get hip to this. We're starting to see utilities understand this. I think that we're going to wake up in 5 to 10 years and every single town is going to have Bitcoin mining in it to some degree as a load balancer for their energy system. And it's good, so there's sort of two ways to think about it, right? Like we're used to thinking of energy as this like scarce resource, when really the scarce resource is our ability to think aggressively about bringing low cost, reliable, and renewable power to individuals. Like it's our will to build this that is the scarce resource. Like we're not running out of energy.
Are there any losers in this? Any businesses being destroyed?
The challenge that could come from some of this is around it's a timing issue. So the lag between new Bitcoin miners wanting to come to a neighborhood near you and the energy infrastructure backend catching up to the increased demand. So there's going to be the miners are more nimble than building a new power plant, and so there's going to be some push and some pull. But I think over time that's going to normalize, really significantly as we see further commoditization of mining hardware. We're going to see, further growth and cost of capital dropping for some of these mining operations. So the ability to have, a truly flexible load consumer is going to increase. So, imagine we fast forward, 20 years, maybe the Bitcoin mine is only running 25 or 30% of the week, just when needed to balance, rather than needing to hit like 80 or 90% uptime in order to amortize and pay off those servers. The server costs have come down, the cost of capital has come down, the cost of energy has come down. And so it becomes, this totally opportunistic layer of the energy stack where the revenue that gets put back to the utilities and to the energy generation folks just means that they're able to continuously invest in better and higher quality service, higher environmental stewardship, and they're able to actually have the revenues to improve the systems rather than wait for government subsidies to come along and save them, or the public dollars needed to upgrade things. They actually have a profitable business that can invest in the improvement of services rather than some of these other sort of less market driven solutions.
What about with money? If we had a dollar stable coin on the Lightning Network, my assumption with that is that becomes a real significant problem for Visa and MasterCard on debit. Not so much on credit, because I don't believe we have a decentralized credit on the Lightning Network yet. Someone may invent something. We have some centralized possibilities with some of the entities who work in Bitcoin finance right now. But stablecoins have become very popular globally, especially in developing markets, mainly operating on alternative protocols. But if we had a dollar stablecoin on the Lightning Network, and I know Jack Mallers is doing something kind of outside of it, on top of it, but like an actual stablecoin natively within the Lightning Network, all those fees which MasterCard and Visa take from the retailers, that percentage or whatever it is,
3 and whatever,
yeah, they are destroyed. They're gone.
Mm-hmm.
That might that'll lead to two things: either a lower price for the consumer, or more revenue for the retailer. But either way, you've removed that percentage. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I guess I'm sometimes confused why we make Western Union the boogeyman and not Visa and MasterCard, right? Like, what's the difference between 13 or 30% or 3% fees? It's all rent-seeking extraction, right? You're a natural monopoly on these payment processors. You've inserted yourself into the transaction cycle, and at the end of the day, the individual is paying the price for that. So why would a technology upgrade not fundamentally disrupt you and remove you and strip the cost out of the structure?
Yeah. I mean, look, they provided a service. It's a useful service. It's useful for me coming here to the US that I don't need to exchange money. I can, on my phone, double click and I can pay. That is a useful service, and there's a charge for that. They've just been out. I just think they've been out innovated.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is that technology is fundamentally deflationary.
It's like the end of Fight Club. If you haven't, by the way, if anyone listening to this hasn't seen that film, go watch that fucking film.
It's really good.
But it's the end of Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
It's blowing up of the
banks. Yeah.
Well, the payment processors.
The destruction of consumer credit.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not, because I still think you have credit. Consumer credit, I think, is different from debit. So debit is just the payment process.
Yes.
But credit is a different. If I don't have credit, sometimes I want to buy things when I don't have it.
All dollars are credit.
You know what I mean, though? There's a slight difference. Like debit is like the money I have, let me pay for something.
Yes.
Come from my bank account. Credit is the money I don't have, I'll pay it at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Incentivized. Which you can gain in certain ways. But what I'm saying is it at least gets rid of the debit part.
Yes.
Now, hopefully, if you're owning Bitcoin, you won't need credit because you've been financially responsible. And
that's the goal is that the removal, we talked about the butterfly effect. I think credit cards are a huge contributor to the butterfly effect. They're incredibly useful in a fiat environment. You mean I get to borrow the money for free for 30 days? Who wouldn't take that deal?
And you actually pay me now?
Exactly, yeah. And you give me whatever cash back or all these other programs.
I get 4 flights a year for free just for using your free 30 days credit.
And so what that says to me is that they're generating revenue somewhere else within the system, looking at the retailer fee that ultimately I'm ending up paying anyway.
Yeah. And
then the other piece is that there's some significant percentage of folks who don't pay their bill at the end of the month. They borrow it for longer than 30 days and get charged, 14.5% on that money until they pay it back.
Or never pay it back and stuck in that cycle.
That's the other option.
What about the destruction of the banks themselves? Will I need a bank account in 15 years, 20 years?
I don't think you'll need a bank account, but I think that banking services are ultimately just a service. I think that
But anyone can provide them. Cash App can provide them.
And credit unions have been thriving for a long time. Local merchant and regional banks. I think that it's the attempt to have banks achieve network effects is really sort of the challenge. And that what Bitcoin does is it breaks the banking network effect. It doesn't remove the need for banking services.
Yeah. Interestingly, I haven't used a high street bank now for quite some time because, one, I lost one. The known story of Lloyd's closing down my bank account, you motherfuckers. And you can just download an app and have a bank account and a card available in minutes now. So you've got these neobanks, which is like the next step forward. But in terms of what I actually use my neobank for, there are direct debits, payments.
Yeah.
But if you move to a Bitcoin wallet I can spend money. I wonder if you can get to the point of direct debits. That's a bit more difficult. I guess regular payments.
There's ways to do it. I mean, I think that ultimately software just replaces these things over time, and that they'll be the great part about Bitcoin being a protocol is you can plug it into a bunch of different kind of software front ends, and the innovation can happen at the software layer, and the protocol can function exactly the way you expect.
So banks die, and you just have providers of financial services.
Mm-hmm.
So why will we need a central bank then? We won't.
So I mean, the central bank's core has a few core functions. They tell you that the core function is, full employment and stable prices. That's what they will tell you the dual mandate is. That's what your economics textbook will say to you. But it also provides other, especially on the dollar side, it provides other services that are related to dollar hegemony, which are things like settlement assurances. So Switzerland's account at the U.S. Fed and England's account at the U.S. Fed, the reason why they feel comfortable doing business with each other via the U.S. Fed is because of dollar hegemony in that environment, and the central bank and FedWire as a facilitating mechanism for settlement, which Bitcoin solves settlement.